let's talk about what we witnessed in the football and start with the big game at St James's Park. Brace from Alexander Isak and goals from Anthony Gordon as well as Fabian Schär ensured Spurs fans left St James's Park with a sinking feeling for the second season running. Now, the result itself wasn't as bad as last season because that was, a 6-1 hammering in the end for Spurs. So you could say slightly more respectable, but not at all. Our producer, Sim, in our group chat went into meltdown yesterday. It was all over. Game over. The season's going to end in a terrible fashion. Doom and gloom, basically, from his
Is
angle.
that what we all are now? Is that when Liverpool get beat on Thursday night, all Liverpool fans are doom and gloom. Every time they have a bad result. Do you know what? As a club, pick yourself up. You know,
it's down to you, Sim.
No,
You're
as
part
a
of the
club,
problem.
You know, the manager is probably fuming. Postecoglou is probably, he's not seen that type of performance. I kept thinking yesterday, I'm watching this Tottenham team, and I'm thinking, I watched them not so long ago go to Villa Park and win 4-0 and thought, where on earth did that come from? You know, we know they're a good side, Tottenham. They can put it together. You know, we had Gary Mabbott on yesterday, didn't we, Nat? And everything, how rosy it's been at Tottenham in recent weeks. Then you put in a performance like that, you've got to get back to reality really quickly. You know, Van der Ven's not played like... That's his worst game in the Tottenham shirt.
Yeah.
You know, he's been brilliant all year. But it's a reality check of get yourself back right. You've got a handful of games left to try and get yourself in the top four.
But is it also, do you think, that because of the start they made under Ange Postecoglou, and we were all talking about our Spurs in the title race, I know it was early doors, and they went on that incredible sort of unbeaten start, if memory serves me right. Do you think, in a way, we all kind of fell into this trap of, wow, what a revolution it's been by Ange Postecoglou? And now we're really actually seeing that it's a manager in his first season. There are going to be ups and downs.
Yeah.
He hasn't got his full squad, let's say, of the players that he ideally wants, and that's going to take time to build anyway.
Yeah, and the style is roller coaster.
Of course.
You know, it's not going to be one you're going to win every game and not concede. They play an incredibly high line. Do you know what, yesterday? Maybe it was a day you don't. They've got three quick forwards. Barnes is quick, Isak is quick, Gordon is quick. And yes, Van der Ven's pace is good. But them three was such a handful. Newcastle were brilliant from the very first minute yesterday.
But when, as you say, when you have that high line coupled with a pacey forward line from the opposition, and that forward line is getting early sighters in the game, as in they're having moments where maybe they could have gone ahead earlier on, for example, Newcastle. At what point do you learn as a team to suddenly go, maybe we should start being less of that high line? Maybe we need to retreat a little bit more. Maybe we don't need to be as naive as we have been in that game.
Well, you've made a really big point there, Nat, because one thing you could say, the one failing of Tottenham, and it happened in the Chelsea game early in the season when they lost and they went to 9 men, is that is Postecoglou adaptable as a manager? Now, that's not been answered yet because, OK, I play my way, and this is how we approach every game. Now, that was a game to me, clearly. I remember why I brought that up is because I thought yesterday before the game, are you going to really play that higher line on the halfway line? And conceded a goal with the guy being onside in that build-up to the Isak goal. And I'm thinking, that's really high risk because they're all quick. All of Newcastle's front three are quick. Gordon's electric. OK, he might not be the quickest player in the league, but he's still very quick. Barnes is. So I think that's the one that Tottenham fans are going to have to face. You're going to find out over the next months and into next season, is Postecoglou going to become an adaptable manager? Where I've always praised your manager because I just think and I'm bringing up Brentford in this, but I've always thought
you're bringing up Brentford.
Yeah, I'm bringing him up, but he will adapt to opposition.
Yes, yeah, that's definitely
Tottenham
what we do.
didn't yesterday.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you want to make an accusation, that's the one.
But sometimes you look at that and you go, that's a good thing. That's your style of play. Why would you want to change your style of play if that's what you want to do? But you're quite right. At the same time, I think a good manager shows adaptability and shows that maybe this plan A is not working and we need a plan B, but it doesn't feel like there is a plan B. Do
you want a funny story? Right. So funny, it was just weird. We played with Republic of Ireland, Holland in the 96 playoff to make the was it the Euros? I think it was the Euros. God, I get confused on World Cups. Yeah, it was the Euros. We had a playoff game against Netherlands and Jack Charlton and said, we need to change the way that we play. We're not going to play two up front. We play two up front all the time. He said, we need to change the way we play because our our legs are going slightly. They're very good technically. But Jack always played the same way. Mm-hmm. We was all stunned as players. It was like, we only play one way. We've only ever played this one way. And that was the moment. We ended up adapting to the Netherlands, beat us 2-0 at Anfield. We never got even close to them. Huh. And it was the moment we all sort of realised, we can't always play that way. Yeah. There has to be games.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me, that result that night. They were brilliant, by the way, but we weren't adaptable.
Well, it's a result that continues Newcastle's late push for Europe. I mean, gosh, go back a couple of weeks, a month or so ago, we weren't thinking really about Newcastle being in European contention. It has dented Tottenham's Champions League hopes because that 4-0 loss means they've actually now dropped down to 5th, with Aston Villa not even playing because of the goal difference now situation. So Aston Villa move up to 4th as a result. As I was mentioning, our producer Sim, not happy. I feel like he's just resigned to it being a disappointing end to this season. Presenter and Spurs fan Reshman Chowdhury was at St James's Park for Game Day Exclusive yesterday. She also had some scathing words for what she had witnessed.
No, we are not mentally there yet. Ange Postecoglou has been saying all week that there are some teams who get into the Champions League, it doesn't mean progress. But you know what? For this Newcastle United side, it has been progress because it's given them the fire. Yes, they might not be back into Champions League football contention, but they've put themselves right back in the mix for European football, having to contend with all the injuries that they've had all season. There they are, and that is a mark of progress. As for Tottenham Hotspur, they have a lot of work to do. Yes, I'm a disgruntled fan. Yes, I am absolutely fuming. And I do believe in the project that Ange Postecoglou has, that there is a lot of work to do. If we play in the Champions League, we are going to be cut open by any side. We're going to be exposed by every big team in Europe. We're not ready for that yet, so we have to stop talking as if we are. We can still hope, and we should still hope, but the run-in will tell you how difficult that is. Arsenal at home, Chelsea away, Liverpool away, Burnley at home, Man City at home, finishing the season at Sheffield United. It's so tricky, and every single game we falter and we put ourselves in a position where we're on the back foot again. So there's a lot that needs to change. Yes, this football is the antithesis of what we've seen over recent seasons, but we can't keep living as dangerously as this.
Well, he summed up well in the sense of living dangerously. That's what they were doing. But as you pointed out, that's the risk and reward you get right now with this Postecoglou team. So disappointment for Tottenham fans, but obviously jubilation for Newcastle, who, as I say, really have put themselves in a strong position now to finish in a European place. Although, of course, there are teams around them who are still yet to play this weekend. Manchester United could have gone above Newcastle had they have got a win at Bournemouth, Cass. But wow, what an extraordinary game that turned out to be in terms of, maybe it's expected. We still don't understand what Manchester United are. And Bournemouth probably will come away from that one thinking, how did we not win that game for all the chances that they had? They went ahead twice in the game. They were denied a late penalty after a VAR intervention. United's second equaliser, a little bit of controversy to that one, where it was a handball given against Adam Smith. Before we get your thoughts on that, Cass, here is what the United boss Erik ten Hag had to say, where he actually, honestly, said he thought his side were lucky.
Both are not penalties. I know that feeling. In the last 4 games, we conceded 4 penalties. So one is now disallowed, where all the penalties shouldn't have been given. And also our penalty shouldn't have been given.
Interesting. It's not very often that a manager is so honest about certain decisions and saying, look, both penalties were perhaps harshly given.
Yeah.
We talked about it before we came on air, more so on the Man United things. But first of all, credit to Bournemouth. We talked about them yesterday and what a job Andoni Iraola has done, considering they didn't win their first 9 games. And yet, look where they are right now. They're 12th in the table, very much safe for another season in the Premier League, which many wouldn't have expected when he took over, especially as I mentioned, that start that he made. So credit to them. And as I say, they'll be disappointed that they didn't come away with all 3 points because they certainly had their chances. But Manchester United, it's like we're back here once again, sort of asking questions of this team. What did you make of the performance?
Awful. Garnacho's performance really bothered me. He looked like a player that was playing on the right and didn't want to play on the right and didn't really help Darlow out at all because Kirkez, the left back or left wing back, was causing Man United all sorts of problems. Darlow was left many a times isolated and there were mistakes by United players, certainly for goals. But his performance, Garnacho, bothered me because he's been really, really good, and I've praised him highly because of what a good player he is. Looked like his nose was put out of joint yesterday, and he's been taken off after 45 minutes. So then the manager's definitely furious with him because of the way they conceded the goals. And he, I think it's a pivotal moment for Man United because I think the decision on Ten Hag has to be considered. And they are 8 points in front of Bournemouth now. And if you consider Man United are 8 points in front and Bournemouth didn't win a game for 9 games of the Premier League season, Bournemouth have been a better team. Ten Hag's been there long enough now to not have issues like he's having. It should be, a lot of things should have been sorted. For whatever reason, yes, they've had injuries, as many clubs. That club has not been sorted. I think Jim Radcliffe will be all over this club before now and the end of the season. And I'll be amazed if Ten Hag stays. But I also will be amazed if 4 or 5 names of players in that team will still be there. Because I just don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. I showed you something before. I showed you something before we come there, didn't I, with Jim Radcliffe, when he was working with Christophe Galtier at Nice. And he's on the training ground with 2 games to go, talking to the players about the ambition, the desire, and what needs to happen in that football club. So he's clearly a hands-on, part owner of a football club at the moment.
Ten Hag talking about some of the decisions in that game. Iriola wasn't happy either. He felt that they should have had a penalty late on. Also, he felt that the penalty that was given against them for Adam Smith's handball was harshly given, and it seemed as though Eric Ten Hag seemed to agree with him on that particular one. What did you make of that handball decision, which the referee awarded straight away?
Ridiculous. I don't know. If you see it in normal action, there's no way he can get his arm. And even the height of the ball that's...
Well, it deflects off his teammate straight onto his arm.
I don't know how.
What I will say is there is a slight movement from Adam Smith, but it's so slight that... I felt it was very harsh as well because especially from the distance as well, from where the ball has come from. And as I say, it's deflected off a teammate onto his arm. I did think it was a little harsh, but obviously VAR looked at it and didn't think there was a problem with it either.
No. I'm going to obviously say the same things I've said millions of times. If you're giving shots from 12 yards for things like that, we've got it wrong. It's totally wrong.
Yeah. One big plus for Bournemouth, and with regards to Dominic Solanke, who scored his 17th goal of the season in the Premier League. He has now become Bournemouth's all-time top scorer in a single Premier League season.
Yeah.
So,
and
massive impact.
By the way, just one quick word on this, because I mentioned Højlund yesterday in his performance here. Solanke's playing like a Man United centre-forward.
Well,
do you know what I mean? And Højlund, look, he isn't getting much help. There's no things for him to feed off. I really feel for him. He's a young lad. But he looked like the Solanke at Liverpool at 21. You know, when he was 21 at Liverpool, Solanke, he looked like he was completely off. Yesterday, Højlund looked like that and Solanke looked like a player.
Yeah, the question really then, by what you're saying, and I'm conscious we need to get to a break, is could any striker right now fulfil a decent role at Manchester United if they're not getting the support?
I think it would be a tough gig.
Yeah.
It really would be, you're right.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.